Hi, I'm Kim Doyle Wille. I'm from Elgibel, Colorado, and today we're going to make a really great thing. We're going to make some caramelized pork and Asian slaw cups. Okay, so what I did was I've brushed the bottom of this baking sheet. It's a half sheet, and I've laid out 12 wonton skins on top of the oil that's laying there. And it was just a light coat of oil. You don't want these too saturated. And I'm just going to brush them lightly with the oil. Now we're going to go ahead and put them in these 2-inch muffin tins. Just going to pick them up and kind of insert them into a cup and use 4 fingers and kind of just tuck them right down into the bottom so you make these little cups. And I'll go ahead and keep doing this until I'm done. We're going to go ahead and put these in the oven at 350 degrees for 5 minutes. I've got a heavy cast iron skillet that I just sprayed a little spray release in and put it over a medium heat. And here I've got some minced pork. You can also use pork sausage though. So this is ½ pound of minced pork. So while this meat's cooking up, I told you I'd tell you a little story. Well, I grew up in the Rocky Mountains, and my father owned a restaurant when I was a kid. And when I was 4 years old, my parents used to have to drive down to Denver to go get the groceries for the restaurant because we didn't have delivery trucks back then. So he would take me on this weekly sojourn, and he'd take me to this old Mexican food restaurant right across from the old Walgreens in downtown Denver. And it had that yucky green paint on the wall and sombreros and serapes, and had all these little Mexican women that would come out, and I would try and impress my dad with how hot a food I could eat. And the little ladies would come out every week and they'd be more amazed because I loved it hotter and hotter. And so I acquired this taste. Well, I decided to show you that I last year grew 12 kinds of peppers. But this, Miss Paula Dean, these are Tabasco peppers I grew in my garden. These are anchos or pasillas that you can make great moles out of. Dried habaneros. I've got Thai peppers I've been using all winter. And then these are dried serranos. Now I put all of my jalapenos and my cucumbers, and I've got cinnamon sticks and all kinds of stuff in here with my onions and garlic from my garden. And I made a sweet and sour crunchy pickle. And then I also made some apple jalapeno mint jam using apples from my neighbor's trees. And then, this is still one of my Thai pepper plants from last year in my garden. It lived all winter. It lives right around the corner by the sliding glass door. So, and the reason I tell you about these things is because I've just been in the process of planting 70 varieties of herbs and vegetables, which I'm going to be growing into nice little plants that on Memorial Day weekend, when everybody plants around here, I'll be passing out so that they can plant a row for hunger. Because you see, last year during this contest, I got really interested in hunger relief. I learned about all the things that Kraft Foods was doing, all the different initiatives with their mobile food pantries with only fresh foods on board. They're doing all kinds of great things to bring awareness to hunger, and it turned me into a hunger fighter between that and Twitter. And so I've gotten to be nationally known. I have congressmen and senators, all kinds of people doing it. And I have this contest to thank for doing that. I got my confidence back doing this contest. And just learning all the great things that Kraft was doing, I decided I could be doing great things. Not only in my community, but in the world. So that's what I'm doing. And there's my story for this week. So we've got this meat all cooked up here. It's a little bit pink. You can see I've been kind of breaking it up because I want it to be small to go in those cups. And with this slaw, I'm going to boost this heat up. I'm going to turn it all the way to high because I want this to cook pretty quickly. I love Chinese food. I love Mexican food. They're both kind of spicy. But so what I'm going to do is I decided that pork and apple taste great together. There's apple in the slaw. But I also think cinnamon goes great with apple and with pork. So I'm sprinkling 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon over this pork as it cooks. And I've got it on high now. I've got 1 tablespoon of sugar here. Just regular old granulated white sugar. And I'm going to pour it over this because as this pork cooks, we're going to caramelize it. We're going to seal the goodness right in this pork. Great. I'm going to add in a tablespoon of pureed chili chipotles into this. It's almost done. That sugar and that cinnamon has all caramelized in there. It's got a nice kind of crispy attitude. Okay, next what we're going to do, I've got one fresh red apple. I'm using, I believe it was a Fuji apple here. Now I'm going to peel it first, but I'm making the peel kind of thick around here. Normally I would just use a peeler, but I want this to be about an 1/8" thick, so it's got good meat on it. And then I'm going to just grate the rest of this. The reason I'm doing this peel so thick is I'm going to kind of julienne it, or just thin slice it so it goes in with the rest of our slaw mix. Now I'm just going to go ahead and grate the rest of this, and this is going to go into our sauce with the cream cheese. Okay, I've got the peels that you can see. I've got all my apple grated there. I'm just going to take this peel and just really thin slice it like this. Okay, perfect. See how they came out with this nice little golden edge here? They're nice and crisp. I actually took an extra 2 minutes for high altitudes, so it's anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes because I live high in the Rockies up by Aspen, and so we're way over a mile high. I've got 1 package of cream cheese at room temperature of our lovely Philadelphia cream cheese, which is going to tie this whole extravaganza together. Now I've got it softened up, I've got my whisk. Now I'm going to take the grated apple that I just grated and go ahead and put that in the cream cheese, and then I've got 2 tablespoons of barbecue sauce. You can use any kind you want. And you just whisk this together. And this will become our little apple cream treasure in the middle of this. Okay, it's time to mix us up some slaw. I just got some of that pre-packaged, we only had carrot and green cabbage, and so I decided to improvise a little. That's why I decided on all these little colorful things in this slaw mixture. So I'm putting in 1/4 cup of really thin sliced red onion. And then I've also got a 1/2 cup of diced cilantro that I'm going to put in there, because I like it to have that Asian flair, and you find cilantro in Mexican and Asian food. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of my little apple that I julienned up, the peel. You can see it makes that bright red color there, so it makes it really pretty. And we're just going to mix that up. Okay. Now we're just going to make a really quick little dressing. I've got 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. You could use rice vinegar if you wanted. I usually make a little vinaigrette with rice vinegar, but I thought the apple would stay in tune with the apple. I've got 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, so that's a total of a 1.5 teaspoons for this recipe. There's my other 2 tablespoons of canola oil. I've got 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. I've got 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, and I've got 1 tablespoon of sugar. Now, we just put that in one of my old canning jars from all the canning I do, and we'll just shake it up really good. And I'm going to just go ahead and start spooning in a little pork into each. I think what I'll do is I'll just make up 1 right now for you, and then I'll make up the rest of these, and you'll be able to see the full platter. So I went ahead and put our cream cheese and barbecue sauce and apple mixture in here, and I'm just going to put a dollop in the middle of there with all that apple. It'll be a nice little binder. I went ahead and put the dressing on the salad, and you can see it smells delicious in here, as I'm sure my camera helper would tell you if she could speak. So I'm just going to take a little scoop of the coleslaw and put it right on top, just like that. So it's just overflowing and beautiful. After all, we heard Libby say this week that she likes photography with stuff slopped over the side. So how'd I do, Libby? Okay, it came out gorgeous. It smells divine. And I'm going to go ahead and take a bite. This is so good. That cream cheese in the middle just binds all these flavors together. It's got that sweet, smoky flavor. You can taste the chipotle on the pork. The pork's nice and cooked. The slaw is awesome with these apples and the cilantro and the onion. You guys are going to love this. Now, before I go, as you know, I'm a hunger fighter, so I want to say to you all, if you can't feed 100 people, please just feed 1.